Three, two, one.
Action.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Nick and Frank. We're here for episode number 22 of Untitled ZX.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna call it movie talk anymore because we don't need it.
we don't.
Roasting enough.
We're
How's
gonna.
it going, Nick? How's your day? Did you go to an interview today?
Yes, I did. Not the
And
one I want, but
did you pass the interview?
well, they said that they want my paperwork so I can start the job. We'll see how the
Okay.
other interview, because I'm interviewing at AMC tomorrow, so we'll see how
Right.
that goes. And if
What
that doesn't take too long, I'll end up watching Mando a second time while I'm there, so I can talk smack about it next week.
what was the hardest question they asked you today during the interview?
It wasn't a structured interview like that. Like they weren't asking questions. This was less of an interview and more going over what the job entails.
Okay. So they're trying to sell you on a job. I gotcha. All right.
The last one wasn't really an interview either. That was not like a formally structured interview, which you know what I liked better anyway, because I didn't have to overthink the questions.
I will say, was it a young person that interviewed you?
The first time, yes. The second time, no.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. All right. Well, the other big news, by the way, is your cousin got her driver's license today.
She did, in fact. I heard all about it.
Yeah, so more of you guys on the road worrying.
Yes, quite.
All right, let's get into our agenda. We got a busy one today. We got a couple movie reviews, Scary Movie and Disclosure Day, and we're gonna do some discussion about Star Wars time.
I guess
But I think before all that, you wanted to talk about you have an update on something, right?
yes. They've the social media accounts for the Batman and its spin-off show, The Penguin, have been updated featuring the official logo for the forthcoming sequel for the Batman, officially confirmed to be simply called The Batman Part 2, which honestly is an interesting change of pace because this is the first time a Batman sequel has actually had a number in the title and not a subtitle, because the Keaton second movie was Batman Returns, Bale's second movie was The Dark Knight. So this is the first Batman sequel that is actually Batman 2 or Part 2 here, but this was
Yeah,
delayed.
you don't think they'll change it? That's officially just part two.
I wouldn't mind it, honestly. I feel like subtitles are great and dandy, but I feel like a lot of people follow along easier when it's just a number. Like everyone,
Mhm.
they'll be like, yes, this is the second movie because it is called Part 2.
Right.
Like this is
Yeah.
easy. It's
It
been a
doesn't feel
while,
very thoughtful though. It doesn't feel very thoughtful. But
maybe, but sometimes the titles give too much away. Sometimes just saying, yes, this is the second The Batman movie.
right.
I mean, for me personally, that's all I needed to hear. The first one is one of my, if not my favorite superhero movie of all time. So, and I've waited a very long time because the first one came out. I was a junior in high school when the first one came out. I will have graduated college by the time part two comes out in October of 2027. It was originally going to come out. They've delayed it almost over 2 years from its original release because it was originally going to come out in October of 2025.
Wow.
But they've delayed it a lot because apparently it took a very, very long time to write the script for whatever reason. But you know what? I'm not complaining too much because the more time they take, hopefully that means the better it turns out.
You don't mind them taking the time if they're really working on making it good.
Exactly. And they began production on the film last week. They confirmed that Robert Pattinson obviously is returning as Batman, but Jeffrey Wright's returning as Gordon, Andy Serkis
Mm.
is returning as Alfred, Colin Farrell's returning as the Penguin, along with a couple
Mm.
new cast members, including Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, and Sebastian Stan.
They have to have new villains. Every Batman movie has a new set of villains, it seems. And Spider-Man, all of them, right?
Yeah, and Batman's got a huge rogues gallery. I've heard rumors that it looks like we might be doing Two-Face, although a lot of people want Mr. Freeze or the Court of Owls because Mr. Freeze has never really been done well in live action because the only other time they really tried him was the 1997 movie where he was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger and nobody liked.
Mm. Yeah. All
So
right. Well, I guess we'll see. So October 2027. All right.
it's kind of funny because this takes place like right after the chronology of like in universe here is the first movie starts on October 31st of whatever year it's set in, takes place over a span of a couple days. Then the Penguin TV show, which was released in 2024, it takes place in between the two movies. That takes place
Mhm.
over a span of like 2 weeks, and it's like a week after the first movie. And then this movie takes place like a week after the Penguin ends or 2 weeks after the Penguin ends. So all of them. So we've got 5.5 years between the release of the two movies, but in universe, it's like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hmm.
A good thing people in Hollywood don't age.
Yeah. I guess you have CGI, I guess,
Yep.
when needed.
Or egregious help or ridiculous skincare routines that no normal person can afford.
Well, that too, yeah. All right, let's do our first movie review. Scary Movie.
Yeah,
How'd it go?
it
This
was.
one's always an interesting. Is it just called Scary Movie, or I thought it had a number two?
No, this is they did the same thing that Scream did with the fifth Scream movie, because Scream 5 was not called Scream 5, it was just called Scream, but it wasn't a reboot, it was a sequel, which
Yeah.
makes sense because this movie is it's a disjointed mess, but its main narrative structure is ripped from Scream 5.
Oh,
So
really? Hmm.
so it's got the same basic narrative structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Which
believe
is, so tell me, it's a horror movie, it's a spoof of a horror movie, but yeah,
yeah,
what's the main plot?
yeah, the whole premise is Ghostface is back, and the main characters are all back, and they sort of play with like the concept of like the younger generation, except they don't take it seriously at all because it's a scary movie, and they end up making it so the original cast is the main character. Still, the new characters are side character. The younger generation are side characters, and one of the last jokes in the movie is that why do we need young people?
Yeah, because these actors, Marlon Wayans, Anna Faris, Regina Hall, they're all up there.
Yeah, Marlon Wayans and well, all of the Wayanses really, because there's like seven of them in this movie. But the Wayanses were only really involved in the first two movies. Anna Faris and
Mhm.
Regina Hall continued in three and four, and nobody was in five. But this is the first time the Wayans are coming back since two, which came out in like 2001.
Yeah.
And this is the first installment of the franchise since five, which is the only one I haven't seen, but supposedly it's really bad and I should avoid it at all costs. So. But there's a reason they waited 13 years because 5 came out in 2013. So,
I do
they,
feel like there's just, I don't know, a whole bunch of horror movies lately coming out, and it seems like
yeah,
they're just jumping on a bandwagon here, probably.
yeah.
But
I don't think this was very good for what it's worth, but I do appreciate that they're actually parodying horror because I've watched the first four and three and four sort of lose the horror thing and start parodying, ironically enough, more like sci-fi movies for a lot of it. It's like, was there just no good horror in the mid 2000s to make fun of? Like, I don't get it.
so here they get back to it. They're spoofing horror.
Yeah, unfortunately, that does hurt the movie just as much as it helps it because there are a couple jokes, but none of them are really like great.
None of them landed.
Yeah, there were a couple that
Well, I'm
were
trying to think of what are the good horror movies they're spoofing at this point.
some of the main ones. They did Sinners, they did The Substance, they did
Mm,
Weapons, uh,
mm,
Scream 5 and 6, obviously,
mm.
because the main story structure was Scream 5, although there were a couple scenes that were ripped right out of Scream 6. And actually, the
Okay.
ending was ripped right out of Scream 7 as well, which I don't even know how they did that because Scream 7 came out like 3 months ago and it was also awful. But
Well, what worked here? We'll start with that because it sounds like there's a lot that didn't work, but
um, for what it's worth, I do think Marlon Wayans' character, Shorty, is still kind of funny sometimes.
mm,
Like he's a 50-year-old man and he's still acting like the crazy weed bro
yeah, yeah.
he was in the original two. Also, the infamous internet streamer that nobody likes, Kai Cenat, was in this movie for some reason, and he
Mm.
died. He died, and it was really funny.
Nice. Okay.
Nobody really likes him, and they think he's obnoxious and kind of ridiculous, but he died, so it was funny.
Well, that's cool. All right, what didn't work?
Oh boy. So I don't think this franchise has ever been anything overly mind-blowing. The only one I think was like legitimately clever was the first one, because I didn't think two was very funny, and three and four firmly fell into the just being fine category.
Mhm.
But the first one was the only like legitimately somewhat clever spoof because it had sort of a balance of like egregiously offensive humor and like just goofy over the top humor. I think back to the scene where Anna Faris throws her grandma down the stairs after go while trying to throw things at Ghostface who's chasing her up the stairs, and then she pushes a whole piano set down the stairs and you see
Yeah.
Ghostface running up the stairs and then the piano, and then you see him turn tail, and you get like the side shot of him running down the stairs as the piano goes after him, which I still think is the funniest scene in any of these movies. Nothing even remotely close to that here, really.
Mhm.
Um, I think the thing is, and you can tell sort of the way and sort of talked about this movie and promotional material is their whole intention here was to bring back offensive humor and offend as many people as possible because they think the world is too soft now or whatever, which I think is great and dandy. I'm all for offensive humor, but a lot of it didn't feel like offensive humor. It was just being offensive. It's like,
Yeah, you
to the
still have to
point,
have the humor part of that. Yeah, it's still got to
right.
be funny.
It's like I'm okay if you do like offensive jokes, but there have to actually be jokes, and a lot of the time it just felt like we're going
Mm.
to be offensive,
Yeah, 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 I gotcha.
being offensive.
Mm.
And I feel like another thing that I feel like worked in some of the old earlier movies, like yes, they're spoofs of a bunch of different horror movies, but I feel like the earlier ones felt like, I mean, they felt like Diet Mel Brooks, really, but
Well, I also wonder the first one, was there a horror movie spoof prior to the first one? Because it seems like maybe that was part of the newer idea. They had more stuff to spoof back then.
yeah,
When you do five of them, how much more stuff do you have to spoof?
I think with the original story structure was very much Scream as well. Like it was very much based on Scream. It took some twists and turns and referenced other horror movies, but I feel like some of the jokes they did, the references, they didn't take you out of the story. They integrated them in a way that sort of still flowed with the narrative. Here, it
Mhm.
feels like there's so many sequences, so many parodies of certain movies that just feel
Yeah,
like cutaway gags, like a
yeah,
Family Guy
there's
episode.
no underlying story to it.
Yeah, like there's still the overarching like Scream 5 parody narrative, but it feels like they like take so many breaks to parody other movies. They don't incorporate them into the main like narrative to form still so that there's not still a coherent story here. Like it's just
Right.
jokes and bits for the sake of jokes and bits. It's like, yeah, a couple of them are mildly funny, but like they don't flow. There's no like they don't fit in the movie. They feel like
Yeah.
the best way I can put it is they feel like mid-tier Saturday Night Live gets like very
Yeah.
that don't really connect all that much outside of a couple underlying factors that are just kind of stitched together for no
Yeah.
real reason.
All right.
Um,
Well, I gotta say, going to Scary Movie version five, you can't expect too much anyway. So, what's your rating?
like a 4 out of 10. There's nothing that's really going to stick with anyone if you watch this unless you like offensive humor without the humor.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. 4 out of 10, that might be one of your lowest scores I've seen. So,
The lowest score we've talked about. I've had some worse ones this year. I just haven't discussed them yet.
yeah, I gotcha. All right. Well, all right. Well, sounds like everybody can wait for that to come out streaming, and even then, make sure you're bored and have nothing else to do.
Yeah,
All
but
right, but the next one is a good one.
this is the
I
big.
really wanted to try to go see this, but I didn't get a chance. But maybe this weekend we'll see. Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg.
So the interesting thing is this has been pretty controversial. A lot of people have been mixed on it, and a lot of people have straight up not liked it. But for me, I don't get it. I
Mhm.
thought this was absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
I was blown away. I mean, I had high expectations going into it because it is Steven Spielberg. He is arguably the most important filmmaker who has ever lived.
right. You could argue
So
he's in the top five or so at least. Yeah,
I could argue number one.
number one.
He reshaped this industry multiple times throughout his life, and now he's just doing passion projects. And he's at a point where
Yeah,
he can do a passion project and it'll still be a success because he's Steven freaking Spielberg.
yeah.
Like
All
he's
right, without giving away too much, what's the general plot?
so the thing I think that threw a lot of people off is that the marketing really pushed this as a UFO movie. And yes, there is like UFOs and aliens involved, but they are not really the driving force of the narrative. They feel more like a metaphor in the story for
Mhm.
humanity's desire for truth. Because the real thing is you've got like people inside who have connections to these people. You've got this like former agent who's working for this corporation that is being paid off by like the CIA to keep these secrets for decades. And
Oh,
he's a guy who learned these secrets and became almost like a broker or an information broker for a resistance group led by another former member of this company.
okay.
And his whole bit is he wants to expose the truth because the whole thing is that they've been finding alien crash sites since the 1940s, and they've been finding dead aliens and living ones, which they've then tortured to near death.
Oh
if
my
not
God.
death. Like they've been torturing them to experiment on them and learn more about them instead
Mhm.
of, finding a more ethical method of, just trying to learn to communicate.
Okay.
This feels like it's in a similar boat to something like Project Hail Mary in terms of its optimism, though, because
Hmm.
this is a more realist approach. Like Project Hail Mary is like a super hopeful movie, and it's still a great film, but that film feels very hopeful, and it's like, yes, everyone is on the same page in the world to do this thing and not trying to kill each other. This is a little more grounded in reality with its portrayal of that hope and that optimism.
Hmm.
It is a marginally unrealistic because I don't think Spielberg understands how the internet works that well, and also the fact that at the climax of the movie is a news report that of the aliens getting the footage getting revealed on like live television. Um,
Yeah. What do you mean he doesn't understand how the internet works?
it's very primitive the way he sort of handles information spreading and technology. Like
Yeah, yeah, I got you. Yeah, because there's a TV reporter, as I know, Emily Blunt's a TV reporter, right? Like the center of the parts of the story, and yeah, who
her
watches TV anymore? So,
her and Josh O'Connor's characters are the co-leads of the movie, really.
okay.
Although you've also got Coleman Domingo, who plays like the guy who's orchestrating this whole resistance movement, and he is great because he's always great. And the
Hmm.
villain is played by Colin Firth, who is also great
Yeah.
and
Okay.
kind of terrifying at times because he uses this alien technology to basically project himself to other people to try and find their location. And
Okay.
he can even use it to take over people's bodies. Like he can use it to basically possess people in order when he's hunting down Josh O'Connor's character and he straight up finds information about his girlfriend, projects
Hmm.
himself there, and then tries to use her to kill him.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That sounds intense. So,
It's more of a thriller. Like the sci-fi elements, I feel like are not at the forefront of the story for a lot.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more of the thriller, the government manhunt, which I
I
think
like
makes
that. I like some of that though, because the Project Hail Mary only had most of the movie had one actor and one space character, and yeah, that was it. Here, I would imagine having more humans in the interactions makes the story better.
I mean, I still think Project Hail Mary is still my favorite of the year so far. This is a close second, but Project Hail Mary is also shot by my favorite cinematographer, and the puppeteering for the Little Rock alien was like the greatest puppeteering I've ever seen. They made him feel so alive.
Yeah.
Like you felt alive, even if he was a Little Rock alien. This
All right. So tell me what worked best there.
um visually it is insane. I watched this in IMAX, obviously.
Mhm.
It is magnificent visually. I talked about the optimism a bit. Um, I'm jumping all over the place, but I also have to address John Williams' score
Yeah. Yeah.
because John Williams is technically retired, but when it comes to his buddy Spielberg, he's willing to make an exception.
Uh-huh.
He is,
And what do you think? I know last time we talked, you just heard part of the score, I think, right?
yeah,
But
they released one of the tracks,
yeah.
which was
So
the
now that you've heard all of the score, what do you think?
It is absolutely magnificent. When the credits started rolling, I just sat there and all because the track that plays in the credits was that one they posted online last week. But
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there in silence, in awe. The credits are rolling. I don't even bother moving because I'm just basking in the magnificence of
Hmm.
John Williams. I honestly think this is his best score since The Last Jedi. Um,
Wow.
he's
Okay.
his last couple have been a little wonky to me, at least the ones I've heard. I haven't seen the Fablemans yet, but I didn't love his stuff for Rise of Skywalker and Indiana Jones 5 that much.
It's pretty crazy. At 94, he's still doing this.
And he can't even walk. He's wheelchair bound. He's been for a couple of years now, but
Wow.
it's not stopped him. And
That's
he's very devoted. I remember reading a tweet or something from one of the violinists that was on the orchestra, who they said that like, yeah, John was like in the studio for the entire recording. Like there was no point where he had someone stand in for him or nothing. He was there every day.
that is crazy. At 94. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Commitment to his craft.
Yeah, I'll say.
Part, and then, unfortunately, with how old he is, there's unfortunately a pretty solid chance that this will be his last score. But
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. All right. What else was good? How
um,
are the actors?
everyone is great. Josh O'Connor is great. Coleman Domingo is amazing. Colin Firth is great. Eve Hewson is great. Um, there was someone else. Oh yeah, Emily Blunt, obviously. She's the star of the movie here. She's the co her and Josh O'Connor are the co-leads, and I do like Josh O'Connor as well. Him being in this was a big draw too. I mean, other than this obvious Spielberg John Williams combo, but Josh
Hmm.
O'Connor, I saw him for the first time in the new Knives Out last year, and he was really good in that. So I was like, okay, I've got a lot of interest, and I think there is a interesting through line there because both movies actually have religion pretty heavily involved in the story.
Hmm. But
Because
Emily Blunt was good.
yes, she was amazing. She did the alien sounds, like the clicking noises that you see in the trailer.
Yeah.
It's all like she did it herself.
Wow.
Like there
Okay.
was no dubs or nothing. That was all her.
Man, that's crazy. Okay. That
Um,
sounds pretty good. You say there's a religion in this movie. It's got a religious theme as well.
yes, it sort of ties in. The thing is, Josh O'Connor's character, his girlfriend, played by Eve Hewson, is a former nun, and while they're on the run from the government, trying to find an unmarked place, she ends up going to her old nun place.
Hmm.
And we sort of learned that she had left because she had lost her faith, although we later, when we have the aliens, there's a bit of a moral and like religious debate because he's over here like, this is not going to affect people's religion. They need to know the truth. And she's like, people can't handle it. People see God as the one supreme being. So if we show them actual supreme beings, it'll completely ruin people's faith. And
Mm.
later she was talking on the phone to her former, the one nun that she worked with, that was that she was close with. And she's on the phone with her, and she asks her whether or not the existence of otherworldly life would go against their faith. And
Hmm.
the other nun, I don't remember her name, but she was actually quite good in the like two scenes she was in the movie. She straight up says, she's like, the universe is humongous. What point would there be if he'd only made it for us?
Mm. Okay, that's
He
interesting.
also comments that maybe you didn't lose your faith in God, you lost your faith in people,
All
which,
right.
valid. People are evil.
They can be. Yeah.
As we
Okay.
see with Colin Firth's character, who is dead set on making sure the truth doesn't get out, because in his own words, it would upend all established order across the world.
Well, in reality, yeah, it's
It
interesting.
would.
Could be.
Yeah, it could. They actually there was a sequence at the end where they broadcast the leaked footage. There
Hmm.
they cut to a broadcast station in New York, and they have another reporter in it, and she was actually in real life a former reporter. She went into acting, but she was only in it for like 5 minutes. But the performance she gave, sort of reacting to the alien footage in live time,
Hmm.
was absolutely insane. I don't remember her name, but because she was only really in it in the last like 5, 10 minutes of the movie, but
Hmm. Is
she,
there anything he could have done better? I mean, Spielberg, can't be too much.
um, the girlfriend Eve Houston's character did kind of just vanish from the movie for like 20 minutes, and I don't know where she went. Like she was just gone, and nobody. And it's like I feel like we should like cut back to her at some point.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe Spielberg forgot about her. Yeah.
and the CGI animals did look a little weird, but they weren't in it enough to really take me out of the movie.
Yeah. Okay. What's your rating?
Overall, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. This is my second favorite of the years right now after Project
Hmm.
Hail Mary.
Yeah.
That'll obviously change since we've got a Dune movie coming out this year, and we all know that's going to be on top, but
You gonna go see this movie again? Sometimes you need to see it twice.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay. All right. Sounds like it was a good one.
Well, again, Steven Spielberg, he's one of the greats.
Yeah,
Not
I gotta go see this one, but yeah.
one of
All
the.
right. Excellent. Should we do a little Star Wars time?
Yeah, I was desperately trying to come up with something to pad the runtime here, so I was like, huh,
You're not supposed to say that live, but okay.
and most people have figured it out already.
So what's going on here?
Um, I've seen a lot of like rumors and scoops online sort of talking about the future of Star Wars and particularly in the Department of Animation, um because I feel like a lot of the live action stuff recently, bar like Andor, has been very lackluster. Like it hasn't evoked the magic or the spirit or the passion of Lucas era stuff or even earlier Disney era stuff like Mando at its prime.
Yeah.
Like the latest movie is a Mando movie and it's just kind of there. Like it doesn't evoke any strong feelings. It's just there. It exists. But a lot of the animated stuff, and I admit the animated stuff has been driving me bonkers too because of their vehement refusal to try out anything new with the art style.
Hmm.
Because the
Yeah.
last like five shows we've gotten have all had some variant of the Clone Wars art style. But recently, a scooper on Twitter known as Fives Walker said, and I quote, "There's a reason there was a big gap between Bad Batch season 3 in 2024 and Maul season 1 in 2026. There were 2 years between major Star Wars animated shows, which we have not had a gap like that in a while. I mean, we had the Tales of the Empire and Tales of the Underworld in between, but those are little miniseries that came out on May 4th in 2024 and 25 respectively, and nobody remembers anything about them. So
What is he saying? Does he knows what the reason is or no?
he says it's very exciting, but has not clarified what. But we have seen that this is how the scoopers gain
Yeah,
traction.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
say
They put out some big words without actually any content.
yeah,
But
they put out
yeah.
vague things and then keep people guessing for a while and then reveal the true thing. And sometimes they're actually a legitimate source. This guy, I think, has a little more of a reputation. He's been going off about a lot of things recently, but there's been a lot of rumors floating around, particularly on the Star Wars Leaks subreddit, about where they're going to go in terms of Star Wars animation.
Mhm.
Firstly, and there's some project, there was an animated short film or streaming movie called A Droid Story that was announced way back in 2020. They announced it at their big D23 sort of investor presentation in 2020 to make up for the lack of conventions and announcements. And they just announced like a million things there, and half of them never came out. The Droid Story is probably one of the ones that's never going to come out because it's
Mhm.
been 6 years and we have not heard anything about it since. Even the Lando TV show that turned into a movie, we've heard things about it. Nothing substantial, but we know it's still in some stage of development. It's a droid story we've heard nothing about, like in a long time.
Mm.
But
So what do you think they're working on then?
there's been rumors that they might actually have a fully animated theatrical feature film in development, which is
Mhm.
interesting because it would not be the first one. There was a Clone Wars movie in 2008 that served as like a pilot to the TV show, which that was a last minute development. It wasn't meant to be a movie. George Lucas just said, "Hey, you know it'd be cool? What if we stitched the first three episodes of the show together and released it as a movie?"
Did they release that in the theaters or just on streaming or something or
It
somewhere?
it was in theaters. That was back in 2008. It was a very small run and it was a humongous box office flop, but it
Huh.
did release theatrically in I think August of 2008.
I
Um,
mean, I could see it. I mean, after the Spider-Man, he they have some animated movies there.
yeah.
I do wonder if people are like, oh, we can do animated movies in theaters now.
Yeah, especially because we see a lot more animation aimed at older audiences, and animation's getting a
Mhm.
lot more versatile in recent days because people are finally starting to realize its endless potential. For a long time,
Mhm.
everyone just immediately mentally assumed cartoon means thing for kids. But now
Mhm.
people are starting to realize, and you see it with things like Arcane or a lot of Japanese anime has been aimed at older audiences, but Arcane on Netflix was a big one. That was a more adult-oriented animated show, but it was also like visually stunning and insanely
Well,
compelling.
and I also think now, like with some of the live actions are all done in front of green screens anyway, which means the back of it is all automated, all animated effectively or computerized. So like, and the animation is so good. It's
Yeah.
really the same thing. And it seems like you can do a lot more with the animation anyway.
Yeah, because animation, I think the thing was it is you're allowed to be more artsy, more artistic, more vibrant. You don't
Mm.
when you're doing animation, you're not confined to the rules of reality. Like when you're doing something that's live action, you're still confined to like human
Mhm.
shapes and realistic shapes. Like they have to look believable in our real world. But with
Yeah.
animation, and again, the Spider-Verse trilogy, it's not a trilogy yet, the third one's next year, but those
Yeah.
movies that sort of started the modern trend of the
Yeah.
stylized animation. Like we were used to when they started doing 3D stuff, there was a certain sort of specific style that became sort of generic when you saw it being used by Disney and DreamWorks and Pixar. and all these big animation studios, but Spider-Verse dared to take it in a different direction. They
Yep.
decided to go a more vibrant and more artistic and more
Yeah.
for Spider-Verse, it was about capturing the sort of aesthetic of a comic book, which is why you
Hmm.
get like the comic frames sometimes and you get like the comic sound effects during fight scenes, like the visualized sound effects, like
Yep.
something you'd see in like the old Batman cartoons, but it flows much nicer because it is already this cartoony art style and it's like the colors are moving and shifting at all times. And I think the thing with Spider-Verse is they also did a mix of 3D like 3D CGI animation and a mix of with hand painted and hand drawn stuff mixed in there,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
Star Wars took a long time to get to. Star Wars did it with Maul Shadow Lord, which it's not a new art style. I'm wearing a Shadow Lord shirt right now, actually,
Mm.
but Shadow Lord was sort of interesting because it was still obviously an evolution of the Clone Wars art style, but it started incorporating like hand painted backdrops, like, and you can tell too. You see a lot of like wide, like environmental shots in the show, like
Mhm.
large shots of like the city on Janix, and you can like tell that they're hand painted, hand brushed, and it's absolutely stunning the attention to detail.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You even
All
see it.
right. Well, what other rumors are floating around?
So on top of that, we discussed this briefly last week. The Vision series, which is not animated in-house at Lucasfilm, it's animated by a bunch of different studios,
Yep.
but they're doing spin-offs of some of the episodes with the Visions Presents brand, which is why we are getting the Ninth Jedi miniseries later this year. But we have heard rumblings on Star Wars leaks that suggest that they might be doing another series under the Visions Presents branding next year called The Duel, which is going to be based on or following up on the season one episode of Visions called, well, The Duel and its sequel from season three, The Duel Payback. That
Hmm.
one is not, I mean, none of the Vision shorts fall into any canon, like real continuity. They're in alternate timelines, but some of them could fit into the main canon. This one absolutely cannot because this is a
Hmm.
very different take on the galaxy. Like it's all black and white, inspired by like the old samurai movies that Lucas used as an inspiration for the original trilogy. So like the Kurosawa type movies, black and white samurai movies, and it focuses on this character, the Ronin, who is like a fallen or a disgraced Sith Lord, former Sith Lord, who in this universe was the creator of the Sith after feeling the Jedi were corrupt. But after seeing what the Sith became, he turned on them too and started hunting down former Sith after the end of like a war between the Jedi and Sith. And there was a tie-in novel too that sort of delved into it a little bit, but I don't think the tie-in novel is really being considered with these shorts. So although it was a very good book. So it seems like we're going to get another. I don't know if it'll be a mini series or an ongoing series with the way they've done the shorts. I could see it being an ongoing thing where he just has adventures of the week hunting down random Sith and coming in contact with the
I
Jedi.
feel like they just with all the sequel stuff going on, they need a lot more all the streaming stuff. They need more sequels and more content.
Yeah.
And these are great ways to get content out there and
Yeah.
keep
Mhm.
people engaged.
Yeah, this is great because it also lets different studios sort of have their foray on Star Wars, which is what Visions really has been. This,
Hmm.
but with the Visions Presents branding, it's going to give these studios that came up with their own stories the opportunities to continue these stories.
Yeah.
With again, we've got Ninth Jedi coming out later this year, and
Hmm.
allegedly the Duel next year, which that could be exciting because I also love the animation in the Duel shorts. The style is again, it's black and white except for the lightsabers and like the laser beam. So like you'll have a fight scene and both characters are black and light, but they both got red lightsabers. And so the
Hmm.
sabers are red, or in the one from season three, they had a like fallen Jedi, so he had a blue saber. And I
Yeah.
think the Visions Presents branding has a lot of potential because there's a lot of shorts in there that leave room for continuation. There was another two-parter in seasons one and three called The Village Bride and its sequel, The Lost Ones, which that one's about a Jedi who survived the Purge. And in the second one, she finds out that her master, who was killed on Geonosis, was revived somehow and is now working for the Empire. So she has to fight him. And she ends up chopping off her legs and both arms. And I think that could be interesting because she does survive. She actually uses carbonite to freeze him,
Jeez.
so she doesn't actually have to kill him. But there's a lot that could be really interesting with that character. I mean, it's in the Imperial era again during the Age of the Empire. So we see a lot of that time period. Um, there's another
Okay.
thing. There's been people talking about the next major animated project could be announced at Disney's D23 Expo in August, which we will cover come August, but I don't know exactly what it is, but the Bad Batch actually left. There was a subplot in seasons 2 and 3 of a clone rebellion because the clone troopers served the Empire at the start, but very early on, the Empire started phasing them out in
Hmm.
favor of conscripted recruits, which became the Stormtrooper program. And the clones were literally they age faster, so they're only like most of the clones at this point in the timeline are only actually 14 years old, even if they look 30. So they age
Hmm.
faster because of the way they were created, but they were genetically made in a lab for one purpose, war. And we see sort of what happens to them when they're discarded and then treated like trash. They're thrown away after the war is over. You see how the
Hmm.
Empire treats these people who were made for war after there's no war. And you see a glimpse of it in Kenobi too, where you see in one of the Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes, you see a clone trooper in like battle-worn armor and he's like all his hair's grown out begging for scraps.
Oh,
It's like
jeez.
they treat this,
Mm.
well, it's like they just when they're done with something, they just throw it aside and treat it terribly. And they capture any clone who disobeys the Empire too. They arrest them and brainwash them. And you see sort of it brews a lot in seasons 2 and 3 with Clone Captain Rex sort of building up this resistance movement to rescue and free all the clones. So you see Captain Rex and Echo, and in season 1, you see clone Captain Hauser sort of throw down his weapon and refuse to partake in the Empire's atrocities anymore. And in season 2, Clone Commander Cody shows up, but he refuses to kill someone when he refuses to kill someone, and then they say he went AWOL, and then he's never heard from again. And then in season 2, there's a big story arc where they go to Coruscant to try and find proof that Vice Admiral Rampart had ordered the destruction of Camino so that he could get him framed and cancel the Stormtrooper program. But it ends up backfiring when they show the proof because the clones were on the Star Destroyer that opened fire, which means they listened to a corrupt order. So Palpatine shows up and he's like, "We're going to get rid of the clones." And they're like, "That was not how I thought that was going to go."
Mm.
But now there's a whole resistance movement, Captain Rex and Captain Hauser and Echo, and they're going to bring Commander Wolf in. And they didn't resolve that storyline because it wasn't the main plot in Bad Batch. It was like a secondary storyline. So I feel like they're gonna do a show about it. I would rather they didn't because we've been there, done that. We have enough
Yeah.
clone trooper related stories at this point, but
Mm.
and
What do
on
you think they're gonna do anything with the main movies?
Not in animation. I think that although I have heard there's rumors about a anime reimagining of A New Hope, which is
Yeah.
weird. I don't really think we need that. I think it would be more interesting if they did new things with these other things, but I guess it'd be a one-off anime thing that doesn't have a wide target audience anyway.
Yeah.
So if they do that, that would probably be next year for the 50th anniversary if they squeeze it in somewhere.
I
And
don't know. I could see people going to see it though, just because it's
it's
the
different.
story they love, but in a new way.
Yeah, and we do have Maul continuing. We know Maul's getting a second season. The guy who voices Maul did say that there won't be a huge wait, so my guess is probably next summer after the Starfighter movie comes out.
Hmm.
I don't think it'll be early in the year like season 1 was because Ahsoka's second season is supposedly going to be in like the February to April range. So I think Maul will end up being something in like June or
Mm.
July once the movie's had a good run and they can direct attention towards it. So we'll see. And we don't know what's
Mhm.
next for movies either, but we could hear after next year. We know next year's movie, but that's it. Ugh,
Well, sounds like we got a lot of stuff going on in the Star Wars world.
quite. And
What
these are,
is the Disney D23 Expo? Where's that? Is
I
it
don't
down
know.
in well, I assume in California.
I'm not entirely sure where it is. I know it's more for just investors and stuff, but they do announce stuff. I reckon
Yeah.
this year it's going to be bigger for like Marvel stuff since Marvel's got Avengers coming out and they're going to make a big deal out of that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have heard rumblings that they might show the teasers for Ahsoka season 2 and Starfighter behind closed doors there, although I do think it's a little too early for those sorts of things to come out. So I don't know if that's true. I'm not putting any confidence in it until we get closer to the event.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I could see them doing it. My speculation right now is that Starfighter will have a similar marketing campaign to Mando and Grogu, except actually they'll remember to market it as a movie this time. So
Yeah, yeah.
they'll so I can imagine them showing the first teaser behind closed doors at like D23 and then releasing it publicly in I think the first teaser was shown for Mando publicly in September of last year. So I imagine we'll get it in like September and then maybe a second trailer attached to either either attached to Avengers Doomsday or the Super Bowl. One of the two.
Hmm.
But we'll
All
see.
right. All right. Well, what's the next movie?
Uh, well, on Friday I'm seeing two. I'm seeing A24's The Death of Robin Hood from director Michael Sarnowski, who previously did the Oscar-winning film Pig with Nicolas Cage, and he later did the Quiet Place prequel, A Quiet Place Day One. This has
Uh,
Hugh Jackman as like an aging Robin Hood, past his prime, sort of reflecting on his life choices and going on one last adventure.
oh, that's be interesting. Okay.
And then Toy Story 5 is this weekend as well, and I'm kind of skeptical about it because I feel like 3 was still the perfect ending. It's like I don't really think we need to keep doing these,
Yeah,
but
when you get up to five, it's tough. But yeah,
especially because 3 felt like such a definitive ending too. It's like this feels
yeah,
like closure. And then 4 I was a little lenient on. I didn't love 4, but 4 still felt like a definitive ending. It's like this is it. This is done. Woody is separate from everyone else now, and he's gone on his own path. But nope, we're back. Everyone's back. Woody's back.
it's all about money.
There's also a small chance I might see Mando and Grogu a second time, and that might give me more clarity on my thoughts. And by clarity, I mean I'm probably going to hate it more this time, but my hopes are not high, but I might
You
see
see
them.
both those movies on Friday, you said?
Yeah, I'm going to squeeze them into the same day, double feature, because it's the only day this weekend I have time, and everyone else is going to be busy that day anyway, getting ready for Jen's party or whatever.
That's right. Big party on Saturday. So,
It's like, we'll knock two birds
all
with
right. Well, sounds like a good weekend coming. So, I
very much.
will see you on Saturday, actually. So,
Yep,
all right. And with that, that's a wrap.
that is in fact a wrap and cut.